So for this video, we're going to be replacing two 2.5-inch relief valves. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my nipple here, make sure I'm doping it correctly. And that's going to go into the side of my nipple here. Then I'm going to go ahead and flip it around. Now, I usually wouldn't pop it in the vise like this on the threads, but it's only going to grab the top of the kind of threads there, as you can see. That way, when I take it out, it's not really going to affect where I'm putting the rest of that nipple in. And that is a 2.5 by close nipple, and then using the 3-foot pipe wrench here to get it nice and snugged up. Cut my hand a little bit on those threads, so put a glove on from there, and then go ahead and do it for the next one here. Remember, we have two, so threading the next one on, making sure to dope it, then flipping it over again. This is my coworker telling you guys that it is in fact called a nipple. Now cranking it down with the 3-foot again. And then we will go over to our boiler. So now we have our 2.5-inch relief valves. These are going to go on top of our boiler number 2. These are all brass, very expensive. These are about $1,600 for the 2. So, yep, then getting all the specs there. These are rated for, I believe, 180 PSI. And then we're going to go ahead and start threading those onto the top of the boiler. So now here, just prepping out, making sure I take those caps off that are protecting the threads. I'm going to go ahead and dope that, set it up on the edge there. Now this boiler is round, so I'm having to kind of balance on top of it. It's also about 110 degrees on top of that boiler. Now obviously this boiler is off, or I wouldn't be standing on top of it with it open. We diverted power to boiler number 1, so that's the one that's running right now. And then once I get this in, we will fire it up. So threading that into the top of the boiler, making sure it is adequately doped. Then I'm actually going to take that union apart so that I have a little bit more play there. I'm just trying to get it in a position. Busting that off. Then I'm going to thread it in to the relief valve. Once I tighten that up a little bit more. And here I'm using the 24-inch offset wrench. A little bit easier, it doesn't mess up the threads as much. But again, kind of having to straddle the top of the boiler there. Now I'm not going to tighten it all the way because I still want some room to play. I'm actually going to back it up a little bit right here, so that I'll have room to thread the other side of that nipple with the other side of my union on. Again, making sure to dope. And then once again, I'm going to thread that into the outlet side of my relief valve. So this is going to connect to basically a steam exhaust, so that if these relief valves do pop or when we exercise them, all that steam is just going to go straight out of the boiler room instead of just into the air in the boiler room. That way we don't set anything off or get anything too damp in the boiler room. We do have lights and stuff like that, so we want to keep it a little bit dry in there, not too humid. So then again, using that offset wrench to set the rest of that union. Can be kind of a pain to get those big jaws on small finish like that sometimes. I'll make sure it's real cranked down. Now again, these aren't going to be valves that are going to be used all the time. These are only going to pop if, you know, again, pressure becomes too high within the boiler, then they'll obviously set off. Or when we're exercising them, you know, we do want to exercise them at least once a month. That way we're making sure that they are working, are functional, and they don't need to be replaced again, right? It was exercising the old ones in the first place that made me realize they need to be replaced. So that's how we got to where we are. So now again, turning this back into place here, want to make sure I'm lined up the right way. So just kind of scooting it tight. Almost fell off the boiler there. Scooting it tight. And then I was going to try to thread one, but I figured it's better if I just kind of set up the next one and then thread them both at the same time. So then I'm just going to do the exact same thing on this one. Sped this part up a little faster because I already seen it done once. And really the hardest part of this whole job was just getting the unions lined up there, kind of setting them the right way. Once everything was in, it was real easy. Just crank everything down, and there's our finished product. Nice and pretty. Got that Blue Monster pipe dope on. Really love their stuff. Their stuff always works great. Their Teflon tape is great as well. And yeah, 2.5-inch relief valves on top of our 3-ton boiler.